We all know every CPA firm wants to grow, right? But what happens when that growth, it kind of starts to break your team and your budget? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful solution to that exact problem.
So let me ask you, does this sound familiar? You're crushing it at what you do. Clients are lining up, but it just feels like you're stuck. Like you can't quite take that next big leap. It's almost like you've hit some kind of invisible wall.
And this is what that wall actually looks like in the real world, day to day. Your best people, your senior staff, they're just drowning in routine work, especially when tax season hits, right? And all that crucial, high-value advisory work, it just keeps getting pushed back. So what do? The only solution seems to be hiring more expensive full-time staff. It's this vicious cycle that really puts a cap on your growth.
There's a name for this, actually. We call it the CPA capacity crutch, and it is so frustrating. It's that point where your firm's potential is being held back not because you don't have enough clients, but because you just don't have the bandwidth to serve them all effectively.
Look, here's the real issue at the heart of it all. Getting new clients, that's only half the battle. The real secret to sustainable growth is having a system that can handle all that new business with consistent quality every single time. And honestly, traditional hiring, well, it often struggles to deliver that.
Okay, but what if there was a smarter way to scale? A much more strategic approach? Let's talk about a model that kind of blends the best of both worlds. You've got your expert team onshore, and you support them with a dedicated execution team offshore.
So this is what we call the hybrid onshore-offshore model. And let's be super clear, this is not about replacing anyone. It's about reinforcement. It's about having your offshore team handle all those structured, repeatable, time-consuming tasks, which then frees up your local experts to do what they really do best, advise clients, and focus on growing the firm.
Okay, that sounds great in theory. But how does it actually work in practice, day to day? Let's break down the playbook and see how you can make this hybrid model a huge success.
This clear division of labor, this is the absolute core of the model. Just look at this. Your onshore team gets to focus entirely on the high-value, client-facing stuff. We're talking strategy, advisory, those complex judgment calls. Meanwhile, the offshore team becomes like the firm's engine room, right? They're efficiently handling all those foundational tasks like daily bookkeeping and tax prep support. When you put them together, you get this incredibly powerful synergy.
And the workflow itself is super simple, but really powerful. It's basically a three-step process. Step 1, the offshore team preps all the reports, the returns, the work papers. Then, Step 2, your onshore team reviews it. And here's the key. They're not just checking for typos. They're looking for strategic insights. That leads to Step 3, which is where the magic happens. Your team can now deliver that high-value, forward-looking advice in every single client meeting.
Okay, now let's get to the really exciting part, because the benefits of this model, they go way beyond just saving a bit of time or money. We're talking about some truly transformative advantages here.
I mean, don't get me wrong, freeing up your team's time is a massive win. Of course it is. But the real magic happens in all the ripple effects. It's about how this model can completely transform your firm's culture, supercharge its efficiency, and just unlock its true growth potential.
One of the most powerful and honestly most overlooked benefits is turning the time zone difference into a huge competitive advantage. Just imagine this for a second. Your team wraps up their day, they assign a bunch of tasks, and when they walk in the next morning, that work is already done and waiting for them to review. It's like you've created this seamless 24-hour productivity cycle. It's a game changer. And all of this leads to some very real, tangible results. For starters, staff stress just plummets because they're not buried in busy work anymore. Client deliverables that used to take a week, now they're done in a couple of days. And maybe most importantly, your capacity for growth becomes predictable. You can finally say yes to that big new client, and you can do it with total confidence, knowing you have the horsepower to serve them really, really well.
At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. Amazing advisory work is built on top of amazing data. It's that simple. By having an offshore team that's totally dedicated to keeping the books clean and accurate, you're giving your onshore experts the rock-solid foundation they need to provide those game-changing strategic insights.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. A model like this probably raises a few questions, maybe even some concerns. So let's just tackle the biggest ones head on, so we're all on the same page.
Okay, this is probably the first question that pops into everyone's head, and it's a really important one. Is this whole thing about replacing my in-house staff, the team I've worked so hard to build?
The answer is a huge, emphatic no. It's actually the opposite. This is about elevating your in-house staff. By taking all that repetitive administrative stuff off their plates, you're empowering them to focus on the strategic, client-facing work that's going to grow their careers and your firm.
All right, next big question, security. We all know in this business, client confidentiality is everything. So can you really trust an offshore team with super sensitive client data?
Yes, absolutely. But, and this is a big but, you have to work with the right partner. Any reputable offshore firm is going to have ironclad data security protocols, really robust compliance measures, and a deep, deep commitment to confidentiality. For them, it's a total non-negotiable. It has to be.
And finally, there's this one thought I hear a lot. People say, yeah, this sounds great for some huge national firm, but what about me? I'm a small or mid-sized practice. Does this really work for me?
Yes, 100%. In fact, small and mid-sized firms often see the biggest impact, the biggest bang for their buck. And why is that? Well, it's because your capacity constraints are usually way more acute, right? So even a small gain in efficiency can have a massive, massive impact on your bottom line and, just as importantly, on your team's well-being.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's bring it all together and really look at what this means for the future of your firm and how you can get that real, sustainable growth, but without all the usual stress that comes with it.
I want you to just let this idea sink in for a minute. That old way of thinking about growth, the one where scaling up just meant longer hours and burning out your best people, that model is broken. It just is. This hybrid approach offers a totally new path forward. It's a way to build a bigger, more profitable firm while also creating a much healthier work-life balance for your entire team.
And so, that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. I want you to take a hard look at your current operations, your workflows, your team's daily frustrations, and then ask yourself this. Is my firm built for yesterday, or is it built for scaling into tomorrow? The choice really is yours.